Hello, and welcome to Mad Knitting. My name is Susan, my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I created this YouTube channel because I wanted to have another place on the internet where I could talk as much as I want about all the things that I am making. So if you are a crafty person, or if you are someone who likes to hear other people talk about crafts, especially knitting, you are in the right place. I live in Madison, Wisconsin with my family, my husband, and my 2 teenage children. And I work for a very small nonprofit, and I work from home. So I carve out time here and there to make these videos. Today, actually, I have the day off because it's a federal holiday. Veterans Day is tomorrow, so we observe it today. And it's been an intense couple months of work. I've had a lot of travel since the middle of September, and I am really relishing having a day where I do not have to read my email. I do not have to write any emails or do anything work related. And it's very tempting to spend the entire day cleaning the house, catching up on some baking, doing all that housewifey stuff that I tend to do when I have free time during the week. And I don't want to do that. I want to spend some time making things and re-energizing myself that way. So I thought I'd make a video today. Now, normally I follow the sort of typical format of talking about finished objects, works in progress, maybe some stuff I have planned, but today, I don't really have anything interesting to share. I've been knitting, but I haven't finished anything. And it's all the same stuff I've been sharing for the last several episodes. So I thought instead I would take some time to talk about the sweaters that I wear the most and that I like the most and why they're my favorite sweaters. Because I've been doing some thinking about that. I knit a lot of sweaters. If you're new here, I've been knitting for a long time. I've been knitting since I was a child. I learned when I was about 9 years old, I think. And I've been knitting kind of obsessively for most of my adult life. In my early 20s, so I'd always known how to knit and made things, but in my early 20s, my good friend from grad school taught me how to make socks. And it was in the early 2000s, soon after 9/11, when there was sort of a resurgence of interest in knitting and other handcrafts. I think people were looking to those hobbies as a way to comfort themselves in a time when things were very uncertain and unstable and scary, kind of like now, but it was different then. Anyway, that just sort of rekindled my whole interest bordering on obsession with knitting, and I've been making a lot of stuff. So all that to say, I have made myself a lot of sweaters. I have made a lot of sweaters that I don't have anymore, that I just gave away for one reason or another. But I've done this long enough that I can kind of pinpoint some things that I like about the sweaters that I wear all the time, and how that informs whatever I choose to knit next. So I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is a recent finish. I talked at great length about it 2 episodes ago, I believe, is when I had this finished and talked about the process. And I didn't really make modifications except for making the body longer. But anyway, I won't go into all that again, but I will say this is the Reflections pullover. It's by Mayu KP. She's a Finnish designer, and it's from her book, Contrasts, Textured Knitting, either textured knitting or textured knits. And I wear this thing all the time. I really like the color. I'm sort of coming around to certain shades of, I'm not going to call this pink, we're going to call it magenta, because I like how sort of dark and deep it is. I really like the color, and I just really, really like the fit. This is a drop shouldered design, but there are short rows to shape the shoulders. So you can see, I think there's a definite slope here from the neck down to where the sleeve starts. So there's not a bunch of extra bulk. And I didn't want a ton of ease. This is another thing about sweaters. I don't like lots and lots of ease. I don't like lots of fabric. I feel like it gets in my way. So I chose a size that would only give me, I think it's probably about 3 inches of ease around the bust. So I can, I can move in it easily. I can easily put a shirt on underneath, but I don't feel like there's all this extra fabric getting in my way. I also like the turtleneck. Now, I used Cascade 220 yarn. This is yarn I'd had in my stash for a very long time. And for some people, this might be a little scratchy. If I'm too warm, it feels a little scratchy to me. But on a cool, blustery, gloomy day like today, it's just perfect. Speaking of which, the light may not be great here. I don't use ring lights or have any special lighting. It's just my camera phone, whatever natural light is coming in. Rather than turn on the overhead lights and kind of have a yellowish cast on everything, I'm just going with what we have today. I lit a candle. I thought that I was just kind of in the mood for that, so we'll go with it. So the colors might not be super accurate in this episode, but that's just how it is. So yeah, this is a new favorite of mine. So I've got a whole pile of these. I thought, I'll just pick 3 or 4 of my favorite. And I've got actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 or 6 in addition to this. And I also picked out a couple that I rarely wear, so I thought I would talk about that too. Okay, so the next sweater I'll show you, and I'm not gonna try all these on because that would be, I don't want to take off sweaters and put them on. I think that'll be annoying, but I'll just show them to you. This is the Light Ease sweater by Alicia Plummer. I made this just last winter, spring. I think I may have finished it in March or April. So I know I talked about it on this channel. But once I had it done, I wore it all the time. And again, look at this neck. It has kind of this high drapey cowl neck. If I really wanted it to snug up, there's actually this I-cord drawstring. But I kind of like having a little extra fabric here. I'm not sure why. I just like the look of that. But it's also, this is kind of an unusual yarn. It's a Barocco yarn. I think it's called Boboli lace. It's an odd mix. It's a blend of a lot of different things. It's a little bit tonal. You can probably see that it's not entirely a solid color. And it's like a single ply, but it's actually pretty soft and comfortable to wear. And I love this sort of maroonish, burgundy-ish color. And the fit is really good. Again, it's got a couple inches of ease, but not too much. And it kind of wears like a sweatshirt, but it's a little bit nicer than a sweatshirt. So once I was finished with this, I just wore the heck out of it until it was too warm and I put it away. And I actually haven't worn it yet this season, but I'm sure it will get in the regular rotation as soon as the cold weather gets here and stays here. It's kind of bouncing back and forth lately. Like we had snow at the beginning of last week, and then it got really warm, and now it's kind of, in the 40s Fahrenheit and blustery, but it's gonna warm up again and get sunny. So, with climate change, you just kind of never know what November will bring. So that's a recent one. The others I have in here are actually ones that I've had for a while. So let me show you. I'm going to show you 2 older ones. And I don't know which is older, but they're both probably 9 or 10 years old. This one I know I have talked about before. This is called Plum Wine. It's a cardigan, also using Cascade 220. This is a pattern by Thea Coleman. I love this because it fits around my shoulders and arms better than any other sweater I've made, I think. I believe it's constructed bottom up in one piece. So you've got this cable pattern, this really pretty cable pattern. And at some point you have to shape the armholes and the neck all at the same time. And then you pick up stitches for the sleeve, or no, I could be wrong. This might be one where you start at the top. No, I think it's bottom up. I think it's bottom up. And I think you pick up the stitches around the sleeve, and there's probably some short row shaping for the cap. So it's not like the simplest thing, but the fit is so, so good. There's no extra fabric bunching anywhere. As long as you get the measurements right, you know, the shoulder stops right at your shoulder bone there, whatever this is. And it fits beautifully. Another reason I wear this all the time is that it's a cardigan. I really like having the option of layering and being able to take something off when I get too warm, put it back on when I get too chilly. So if I am moving in and out of different buildings, or like if I'm going from home to another place and I am biking there and I need to layer up to stay warm on the bike, and then when I get there I'm too hot, and then I take the cardigan off, and then halfway through the meeting I get cold again because I've cooled down and I want to put the cardigan back on. I don't know, it's just nice to have that option without having to pull something over my head. So I wear this quite a lot, and I think this was a test knit, and I think it's from like 9 years ago. So I've had it for a long time, and it's in really good shape. I think Cascade has moved their production of this particular base since I bought this yarn. So I don't know if the quality is the same, but look at it. I've never had to depill it. You can see maybe just a little bit of wear on the sleeves if you look really hard. Especially like, you know, here at the cuff, this is where you're going to see a lot of wear. But it still looks pretty good. So that's great. The other cardigan I'm going to show you, and this one's a little heavier, so I don't wear it as much. This is also a Thea Coleman design. This is also something I test knit for her. I don't remember how long ago. I think it's called either chocolate stout or oatmeal stout. No, this is oatmeal stout. Gorgeous cables. Gorgeous, look at those. I love that cable pattern that's very three-dimensional. This fits like a jacket. I think I would wear it more often if it was slightly longer, actually. Just because this is a worsted weight wool. I think it's Julie Aslan Nurtured that I bought to make this sweater. I think she really wanted, for this one, I think she wanted the test knitters to use the yarn called for. Which, you know, I agreed to when I signed up for it. And I believe there was a discount for us. So that's what I use. This has also just been absolutely stellar in the way it's held up and worn. There's a little bit of pilling on the sleeves, as you would expect. But I think I've had this sweater for at least 8 or 9 years, if not longer. And it's this beautiful sort of plum color. I don't remember what the name of the colorway is. I like this shawl collar. I think, again, I like that extra thing happening around the neck for some reason. I think maybe I feel like it helps define my face. And maybe also because my body type is kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, whatever the opposite of curvy is. Like, I don't have a lot of curves. I'm not voluptuous. And so if I have a little extra something happening around my neck, I think that kind of helps balance out sort of how straight and plain I am. I don't know. Anyway, this is very, very warm, of course, because it's cabled. It's sort of a heavy worsted weight wool. It's got this shawl collar, so it's double thick around the neck. But again, it fits brilliantly. I can't remember if this was top down or bottom up. It's probably bottom up because that's how Thea designs most of her sweaters. But this has a saddle shoulder, so you do everything in one piece. And again, it just fits really well around the shoulders and the arms. So this is one, when I get cold, I do wear this quite a bit when it's very, very cold. Let's move to a couple of pullovers now. Where do I go first? Okay, this is, I think I've worn this before. I remember I made this in 2021 because I remember that it was a pandemic knit, and I remember that I finished it in March just before we got like a freak snowstorm. And I remember wearing it outside in the snow and taking a picture of the snow coming down all over me with it on. It's called Clapton, I think in honor of Eric Clapton. This is an old design by Isabel Kramer, and it's called that because of the guitars on the yoke. You can probably see that in the motif here. Eric Clapton has some very unfortunate views about science and vaccines, which became clear after I had knit this sweater. Otherwise, I may not have. Regardless, I really enjoy wearing this. Partly, I think, because it is very lightweight. I use sport weight yarn. It's called Reynolds Whiskey. It's been long discontinued. I have a lot of it left because I originally bought it for something else, and I had several colors and quite a bit more of this dark brown than I needed. In fact, I used it to make some toys for my nieces, and yeah, I've still got some rattling around in the stash. But I'm sad it's discontinued because it's really, really wonderful for color work. It's sport weight. I think there was almost 200 yards per 50 gram skein. So that's a plus. So you get a lot of yardage for not a lot of weight, and it's very light. It's not super washed, so it's really nice for color work. You can kind of see this has been washed a few times. So the yarns kind of blend together very nicely. Also, it just fits really well. I like how it sits on me. But one of the reasons I wear this a lot is because it is so light. This is a really good sweater to wear in the shoulder seasons, I guess we call them. So when it's chilly outside, but not super cold, and you need something to keep off the chill, but anything too bulky might make you overheat. This is a really good sweater for that. So this tells me that I need to knit more lightweight sweaters, because I have a lot of like worsted weight ones like this, like the other ones I showed you, that will keep me warm in the winter when it's very cold, but I need more that are light like this. But yeah, this one I like to wear quite a lot. Okay, I've got two more to show you, and from the pile of the ones that I wear like all the time. These two pullovers are like tried and true, and one of the reasons that I like them both so much is that I use local yarn from companies that I really, really like, and the quality is just exceptionally good. And I know that I've like showed these on my channel before, so, I'm not going into tons of detail with anything. I know I sound like a broken record, but this is another Thea Coleman design. It's called Seelbach. This was supposed to be a test knit back in 2019, I think, or the end of 2018. I foolishly signed up to test it for her while I was in my first year of a master's program that I had gone back, I went back to school in my late 30s to get another degree in a completely different field from what I was doing before. And I foolishly signed up for this test knit, not even thinking about how little time I was going to have to dedicate to knitting a sweater on a timeline and check the pattern carefully for mistakes and stuff, which is what you do as a test knitter. So I finished this way after the deadline. She forgave me, thankfully. But I love it. It fits beautifully. I love, you know, the neckline is like just the right width. It's just, you know, it's just a crew neck. The cable design is stunning. But one of the best things about this is the yarn. The yarn is from Barrett Wool Company, that is owned by Susan B. Anderson, who is pretty well known at this point, I think, for her yarn company, and also for her toy designs and her little hat designs. She's best known now, I think, for toys. She's a wonderful designer. Her yarn is wonderful. Her toys are delightful, and she is just a lovely and delightful person. I have met her a couple of times. But this is the Wisconsin Woolen Spun. Oh my goodness. I just noticed a big orange spot. I think I must have like spilled squash on this somehow. It's on the back. I don't know how I did that. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to clean that off. Okay, so this is Wisconsin Woolen Spun, and it is yarn that is actually totally Wisconsin. I think the dyed colors are even dyed here, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But the wool is Wisconsin wool, and I am pretty sure she uses a mill in Wisconsin to have it milled. So there are, there's a worsted weight, there's a fingering weight, and she has a sport weight also, but I don't remember if the sport weight is part of the Wisconsin line or not of this particular yarn. Anyway, this is like an oatmeal color. It kind of goes with everything. It's nice and warm. The fit is great. The length of the sleeves are perfect. It's one that I wear a lot to keep warm. And apparently I cook squash when I'm wearing it too. I want to show you, I have more of this Wisconsin Woolen Spun to make another sweater. This is the color Stone. I just want to show you what it looks like in the skein. I think it's showing up slightly darker on the screen than it actually looks in real life. Ooh. Is the light just perfect now? So this is a real grayish brown. It's hard for me to say whether this is a very, very warm gray or a very cool brown. I was expecting it to be a little more gray when I ordered it, but that's okay. It's a lovely, earthy, moody color. I have plenty of this to make another sweater. Pretty sure which one I will do. I think it's going to be another one out of that contrast book by Mayu KP, but I will say more about that when I start it. But it's so nice. It's 250 yards for 100 grams. I think the gauge is pretty flexible. I really like how it knits up on a size 8. I get 4.5 stitches per inch on a size 8. That's what I used for this sweater. And it wears beautifully. I finished this in 2019. I've worn it a lot, and there is not a hint of pilling. It looks beautiful, and it's light and warm and just lovely. So while I'm on the subject of Barrett Wool Co., a while ago she had a special run of DK weight yarn. I think it was Wisconsin Woolen and it was DK, and you couldn't buy it in individual skeins. You could only buy kits for something, and I bought a kit. Actually, I bought more than one kit because I wanted the yarn. I didn't really particularly like the sweater pattern that the kit was for, but I really wanted the yarn. So I bought enough. I bought a couple of kits with enough of the main color and the contrast color that I actually had enough of the contrast color for a whole sweater, and that was this gray. I made this sweater, I think, at the beginning of 2022, and I know I talked about it on the channel because I had some fit issues and had to kind of figure some stuff out, like right around the chest area. But it turns out I wear this all the time now. I like the fit, I like the color, it's warm, I love how it feels, it's like woolly and soft and lovely. So this is the Arboreal sweater by Jennifer Steingass. It's actually the second one I made. I made one for my daughter out of a different Barrett wool co yarn. I'm not gonna go dig it up. It's really fun to make though, because of these leaves. And I think I modified the pattern by adding this split hem at the bottom and doing a garter. I don't remember if she has a garter edge or not, but I did a split hem because I liked the look of it. But I love how this one feels, and I love how it fits, and I love the gray and how it looks with this sort of bright, sort of aesthetic green color. So I wear this one quite a bit. Now the yarn I used for the color work is Helix DK from Utopia Fiber Mill, which is also local-ish. They're based in Viroqua, I think, or maybe Lafarge, Wisconsin. Anyway, it's like southwest in the Driftless region. Driving from Madison, it would take between 2 and 2.5 hours to get there. And you all, this Helix DK yarn is like my kryptonite. It's kind of like Spin Cycle, only you get way more for, I mean, it's not cheap, but I think you get a lot better yardage than Spin Cycle. And it's not, Utopia doesn't have the culty following that Spin Cycle does. And I brought another skein here to show you. This is the color Pomegranate, and it's all these different shades of red. And yes, there's pink in there, but it's pink that goes with red. So I'm like, okay with it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to use this on, but you can see that they barber pole different colors, or different, these come in a bunch of different colors, but you end up with like the effect of a slow color changing yarn, and it's really fun to use in color work. So you can see how it sort of gradates from, in this sweater, from a darker scummy green to a brighter scummy green. And I really like that. It actually goes, one of the other colors of this DK Barrett wool co yarn that I got in those kits is this gray, really pale gray oatmeal color, and actually would go pretty well with the Helix. So I could do another color work sweater if I wanted. I haven't really decided. I just have these in my stash, and they're just waiting for me to be inspired with just the perfect thing. So I've shown you several sweaters that I wear a lot. I think you can tell that I tend to knit worsted weight and DK weight sweaters. I would like to do more sport and lighter weight just because I think I would wear them. They do take longer to finish, but that's okay. I definitely have a preference for non-superwash wool. I think it wears better. I think it's more reliable for how, like for holding its shape and for not pilling, generally. And I am definitely someone who really loves cables. Sometimes the more complicated, the better. This sweater I'm wearing, these cables were not complicated at all. And color work. I've been doing more color work lately. But I want to show you a couple sweaters that I enjoyed making, that I think are beautiful, but that I don't wear nearly as often. And I thought I would talk about why. So the first one, since I'm talking about color work, I can never remember the name of this design. And I should have looked it up before I started. I will put it on the bottom of the screen. I know it's by, I'm blanking on the designer's name. Beatrice something. She's based out of Maine. She doesn't do a ton of designing. I think she's a teacher and has small children. I know this starts with a B. I just can't remember. Hi, this is Susan from the future. I was editing the video and I found a few things to correct about the next sweater I'm about to talk about. So first of all, it is called the Bravura sweater. It's by Beatrice Perrin Dallin. And the big thing I need to say is that I did this whole thing where I complain about how there's no short row shaping to raise the back neck. That is incorrect. Knitting this thing was a total gas. It was so much fun. You can see that it's all over color work. I went through my bin. I have this really big bin of worsted weight yarn, lots of Cascade and Knit Picks and some patents, I think, and maybe some Ella Rae Classic. Like there's just a whole bunch of different kinds that are all sort of the same. They're all about the same weight, all knit up to the same gauge. And I put together several colors that I liked. There's even, you might be able to see that, man, I don't know how you can see, but in this part here, the blue background, I ran out of one blue and subbed in a slightly lighter shade of something else. And because there's so many colors in this sweater already, you can see the line, but it just kind of works. It just kind of fits. So I don't know how many colors I used total for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9 different colors. And I love it. I think it works. I did not like how the sleeves fit because there were no decreases. I originally had long sleeves on this sweater. I hated how loose they were at the bottom with no decreases. So I just cut it off and added ribbing, and discovered that I really actually liked having a short sleeve wool sweater. It was surprisingly wearable in terms of temperature. It didn't bother me to have my arms bare. The problem with this sweater, and I don't know if this is enough to make me never wear it, but I wore this the other day and it was really bugging me then, is that she has no short row shaping to differentiate between the front and back neck. She does have those instructions in the pattern. I think what happened when I made the sweater was that my row gauge was off and my yoke was too deep already. So I was having a lot of trouble getting the yoke depth right, and then I think I ended up cutting off some of the top and couldn't salvage the short row part and couldn't get it to work, so I just finished it the way it was. So that was my bad, definitely not the designer's problem. You can see it would be really hard to do that in the yoke because you have color work going the whole time, and it would look really odd to have a short row section in there, but she doesn't have any by the neck. Or at least I didn't put any in. I don't think the pattern had any. So there's no difference between the front and the back. And sure enough, when I wear this, it's not the worst thing, but the neck comes up kind of high in the front and it really dips down too low in the back. That bugs me. In fact, it is a major pet peeve of mine when designers release patterns for round yoke sweaters with no instructions for adding short rows to shape the neck. You can always make it optional if short rows are too complicated for someone and they don't care if there is no difference between front and the back, that's fine. But it just really bugs me. I think it's kind of unprofessional, to be totally honest. I need to reiterate that this was 100% my bad, not the designer's. It really is the pet peeve of mine when designers don't offer any neck shaping, whether that be in a round yoke sweater or a raglan sweater or whatever. But that was not the case with this design. I made the decision, I think it was early 2020 when I made that sweater. I made the decision not to do short row shaping because I was having trouble with the yoke depth and just couldn't figure it out. So again, that is 100% my bad. So I'm undecided about whether I will keep this or not. I was wearing this over a collared shirt the other day and I couldn't put the collar, you know, like the tips of the collar over this. Like it just came up too high. It didn't work. And then there was a whole bunch of the shirt showing in the back. And that was bothering me. Now over a t-shirt, I suppose it's less obvious. And you know, my hair is covering it in the back anyway, but still, it bugs me when the fit is off like that. So anyway, that is the deal with this sweater. The other sweater, this is I mean, the cables on this are gorgeous, right? And the yarn was gorgeous. This is called Epernay. It's a Thea Coleman design. It's a test knit I did for her a couple of years ago. I thoroughly enjoyed making this sweater. I was using Cordale yarn, undyed. I bought it at the farmer's market. I mean, how provincial can you get? The pattern was well written and clear, but this is just not a silhouette that I wear. It's pretty boxy. I mean, you can see, if I hold it up, like there's this much extra on the sides. There's that much ease. And it's kind of cropped. I made this longer than the pattern called for because I just don't wear cropped sweaters. I don't like how they look on me. I don't dress in the kind of layers that cropped works well with. I know a lot of people like to wear dresses with cropped sweaters over them, or, you know, maybe long button-down shirts, or they'll wear high-waisted pants. I don't really wear any of that stuff. I'm a fitted jeans, fitted sweaters, and t-shirts kind of girl. That's how I dress. So I just haven't been able to style this in a way that I want to wear it very often because of the way that fits. And the other issue is that the neck is so wide. It just really kind of collapses. So, and I remember this came up with the bunch of us that were testing. I can't remember if I don't think she recommended picking up fewer stitches, but I think there were several of us that commented that it was best to go down at least a needle size or two from the rest of the sweater, and that helps. I am pretty sure that I used a size 6 needle for the sweater and maybe size 5s for the neck. I may rip out the neck and redo the ribbing on size 3s and see if that helps enough for me to want to wear this, because it is a gorgeous pattern. I love the textured sleeves. It's just a knit purl design texture on the sleeves. It should be pretty cozy and comfortable. And maybe if I'm able to pull in the neck a little bit with tighter ribbing, it will compensate for how sort of roomy it is otherwise. I just haven't done that yet. But it's a great pattern. If this is a silhouette you like, I highly recommend knitting it, because there is this complicated cable panel in the middle, but you've got these sort of plain textured bands, and the sleeves just go lickety split. It's just not a silhouette that I wear particularly often. So I've learned about myself the kinds of sweaters that I like, mostly in terms of shape and fit. I'm willing to try different yarns and try different things. I want to try different weights of yarns, but you know, I've figured out pretty much what I like to wear in terms of, you know, length and ease, different neck styles. And that's a good thing to know about yourself if you're going to make yourself a lot of sweaters. So that's my episode today. That's all I've got. Next time, I'm sure I'll have more knitting content to show you. I'm like this close to finishing so many things, and I've done a little bit of sewing. I just haven't made it over the finish line with enough things that those will all just have to wait for the next episode. But that's it for now. I will see you next time.